All right, welcome to another edition of the Hardwood Huddle. We are back. Well, Bill's been here recording. I have not, but right now we are back here talking NBA playoffs, talking NBA offseason for some teams, talking about maybe some vacation time for LeBron or retirement for LeBron, and how Luka Doncic is now still wishing he was in Dallas, or is he? Bill, first off, I don't know even where to start, but maybe we should start with the fact that the Houston Rockets look like a team that was the number 2 seed last night as we record this on a Thursday.
They have looked that way twice, and it comes down to one person, and you know what I'm going to say, Jalen Green. If the aggressive, incredible, unguardable Jalen Green shows up, the Rockets win. If the other Jalen Green, who lets Pajimski take him out of his game and wanders around aimlessly, looking like James Harden on the defensive end of the floor, the Rockets have no hope. I mean, you can't possibly fight the Warriors with Şengün and Amen Thompson doing the heavy lifting. Şengün's going to do a lot of lifting, but you got to have backcourt play. And Fred VanVleet is not consistent. He never has been. And Jalen Green is not consistent. But Jalen Green has an ability to be explosive that Fred VanVleet doesn't have. So to me, if Fred VanVleet can have a good game, okay, that's fine. But the Rockets are going to win or lose on the box score of one Jalen Green.
I don't think Fred VanVleet has championship experience by playing with the Raptors back in 2019. I think that is something that he brings to the table with this young group, and I think that should never be discounted. I think that should be, if anything, that should be praised on what he's trying to do and help with this young group. But I feel like the Rockets need the Warriors to have an off night like they did last night, and they need to almost be perfect to have those types of results like they had yesterday. I thought last night was the best case scenario for the Warriors. I think that the Rockets and the Pistons are right in the same boat. They needed
Absolutely.
to get that one. They needed to get that one win. They needed to get that definitive win to help their cause. Tonight is game 6. Sorry, go ahead.
I think the big you mentioned this. I think the big thing is, and I said this in my one-on-one huddle about this series, is that the Golden State Warriors have like 4 million games of playoff experience, finals experience between Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Steph Curry. Like, it's just another day in the office for them. Whereas the Rockets, although Şengün's playing like he's a seasoned playoff veteran. He's ready. But other guys on the team, especially Jalen Green, here we go. You just see the moment. The moment is big for them. And so the Warriors, they're kind of sitting on the side laughing last night as their team was down 30 and then 20. And then the second unit actually closed a little bit. But for them, it's like, yeah, whatever. We'll get them next game. And as great as that win was for my guys last night, I got to celebrate, got to represent. I don't think we're going to get another Rockets win in this series. I think the Warriors are going to flex. I think Jalen Green's going to disappear, and that's going to be that.
What has been the key for that series? You could say obviously the obvious answer is always going to be Steph Curry and the play. But I honestly feel the key to that series so far has really been Draymond Green. Not Jimmy Butler, but Draymond Green. When Draymond Green is making solid passes and he is getting everybody involved, he is the definition of point forward so far in this series. He's been scoring when they need to. He's been passing the ball. He's been rebounding. He's been the heart and soul of that team. As much as Curry's been the scorer and Jimmy Butler has made some big plays, the team goes as Draymond Green goes.
There's a lot of truth to that, and Draymond Green is certainly in the heads of whoever they're playing. He's going to do a bunch of dirty stuff.
Dylan Brooks.
Yeah, you can't call all of it, so he's going to get away with a lot of dirty stuff. And but I got to tell you, the guy that has really been the key here, the Rockets have taken Steph Curry out of the series in large stretches because they got Amen Thompson nose guarding him, and there's no better defender in this league than Amen Thompson.
Right.
But Pajimski comes in and he's taking over the scoring. You got Steph stopped. Who's going to stop him? Jalen Green's not going to. And Dylan Brooks is busy with Jimmy Butler or Draymond, whatever. But that's the guy who's really been the key for the Warriors in terms of, okay, you stop Steph, who's going to stop him? So yeah, I think Draymond Green has played a role, but I think Podziemski is, he's been in so many trade rumors over the last couple of seasons, and the Warriors kept saying, nope, he's untouchable. Now we're seeing why.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too. And what I think the thing that Steve Kerr doesn't get the credit for is being able to handle situations like this with such poise. I think that's the one thing Steve Kerr does not get the credit for, is the moment's never too big for him. The moment is never too big for Steve Kerr. That's, I think it's because the years he played with Chicago, he was under the biggest pressure situations through playing with the Bulls, and I think that calmness is carrying down to his team. I honestly feel that. Real quick, I want to bounce around to some of the other series that are now concluded. Memphis and OKC done with. It wasn't much of a battle. Memphis, what a tank job that Memphis ended up doing. They realized they couldn't get into the lottery when they were in the playoffs, right? Like, that's one of those situations, like, there's no help for them right now. Well, they do have 14
Well, there's not.
picks, though.
Their best game of the series was the last game where Ja Morant was sidelined with a contusion, and Scottie Pippen Jr. started at point guard, and it was a 1-point game. They were actually way ahead, but of course that means nothing in the first half. 30-point lead means absolutely nothing by the fourth quarter. But they've got a lot of questions to answer. Do you stick with the Ja Morant train? He's really a cancer in the locker room. His culture is abrasive to any team culture that you're trying to set. He has his own little personal culture that.
I'm going to disagree with you on this one. I just don't think he's a cancer. I just think he's tired of being in Memphis. That
could be, but I have a very good inside source telling me the Ja Morant culture is a huge problem in Memphis. But it could be, when a player feels like the team is not pulling their share of the load, that can also lead them to being cancerous. But you fire your head coach right before the playoffs. You don't have time for anybody to set a new scheme on the team. And then you're going up against the Oklahoma City Thunder, who may not lose another game in the playoffs. So, I mean, talk about lambasted. Yeah, they were set up to fail by the front office before they even got started.
I honestly feel that him and Trae Young are in the same boat. Both guys just sort of need a fresh start. And that's really what it comes down to. They need a new team. I don't know if we want to throw Giannis in that conversation yet. That Giannis needs a new team too. But, like, you have two guys that you can make a swap for Trae Young and Ja Morant. I bet you would probably be a win-win for both teams. I think
Devin Booker's in that situation too. He needs a new team. You mentioned Giannis. The one thing that really surprised me about that series, of course, Damian Lillard got hurt, but they weren't in the series before that. And we hope Dame, can come back. I'm sure he will sometime next year. But I thought the Kyle Kuzma addition at the trade deadline would play much better dividends than it did. And you talk about a non-factor. He was completely invisible in that series.
If you remember when that trade went down, you and I had that conversation, and I said there was a lot of trades that didn't make sense, and that was the biggest one that didn't make sense to me. I didn't understand why Kuzma was traded there, and I'll be 100% honest with you. The Milwaukee Bucks need to blow it up and restart, and there are teams out there that have draft capital, and believe it or not, the Oklahoma City Thunder is in that same boat too, and so are the Rockets. But can you imagine if OKC decided to try and make a play for Giannis? They don't have to give up that much because they have the salary room for it too. That's the rich getting richer. They have the draft capital to do it. Brooklyn has the draft capital to do it. Houston's got the draft capital to do it. Phoenix does not have the draft capital to do it.
No.
Phoenix does. No. Phoenix is right now trying to buy a draft pick. You know how people
they could trade Devin Booker to Houston, and he'd be a much better fit than Giannis. I mean, I'll take either one, but Houston could send them all kinds of draft capital, as could your Nets.
Well, look, at the end of the day, and we'll talk about the Nets in a minute, but I think at the end of the day, you look at some of those guys who really need a new start. Like, there's a list, and you can make a list about 5 or 6, 7 guys. Like, let's do that right now. Devin Booker, Giannis, Trae Young, Ja Morant. I'm willing to say LaMelo Ball needs a fresh start too.
If he could stay healthy, I think the biggest issue with him is they've got some nice pieces around him, but when is he going to stay healthy? And the answer is He's not so far.
And there's one other guy I'm going to throw out there who needs a fresh start, and he's on a winning team. He's on a championship team. I'm beginning to after watching the Celtics Magic series, I'm beginning to feel like Jaylen Brown wants a new start, because I think he's getting real tired of this.
Easier said than done with that ridiculous salary,
that ridiculous salary situation,
that contract. Like, my God,
what do you mean
a great player. He's a great player, but wow, who can take? What's he making? $55 million next year or something crazy?
I was about to say, who doesn't want to take on his $350 million a year contract?
Right.
Come on, guys. Come on.
They'd be better off trading. Well, Tatum makes a bunch of money too, but that's going to take a special situation.
But you look down the roster of the teams that are either not playing right now or the teams that are about to be ousted. There's a couple veteran players who are ready for a fresh start. Like, you look at it. You look at the Clippers right now. Are you telling me right now that Kawhi Leonard is not sitting there saying, man, I probably shouldn't have stayed in LA? Could have stayed in Toronto. Yeah, it would have been a little cold, but whatever. You can't tell me that Lauri Markkanen and out in Utah, he's like begging to get out of it.
No kidding. And he's a guy that helps any team immediately.
Yeah, I think he's ready to go. Tyrese Maxey's been looking at it. He goes, like, get me out of this Philadelphia mess. Like, oh.
That's the number one guy. That's the number one guy on your list.
Yeah, like, I think he's any team he would go to. You want to talk about a team that Milwaukee would probably love to have is Tyrese Maxey. Every team would like to have Tyrese.
No
Maxey.
kidding. Every team except for the Oklahoma City Thunder and
you know who?
Maybe Cleveland. I don't know, but yeah.
You know who also probably wants it out of his situation right now? Tyler Hero.
Yeah. What is that situation? Like, Miami looked really good for a second, and then, oh yeah, no. Of course, it's kind of like, you're playing the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavaliers have been the best team in the East from preseason. And we've just been waiting for the Cleveland Oklahoma City Thunder NBA Finals since September.
Yeah, it's a little ridiculous when you think about it, but there are a list of players, and the thing is, with LeBron James possibly retiring, and we'll get into that in a couple of minutes, but with LeBron on the downside of his career, I think the teaming up of stars is going away. And you might see a more balanced NBA if that happens.
Part of that is so many of the established stars are now retirement age.
Right. And that's the thing.
And the league is full of young guys that, as we've talked about many times, you're wondering who they're going to be in 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. And to me, I honestly feel, and this is just me, I just feel honestly from the bottom of my heart, right now the league has turned over to a negative way. Like, I was watching Orlando and Boston the other night, and I watched Orlando have a 3-on-1 break, and they tried to do a behind-the-back pass, and they missed the layup. And then after that, Tatum took the ball, tried to throw behind his back, and he turned the ball over. I was like, I've seen AAU basketball better than this.
That was that stretch where it was like 5 missed shots, right? It was like back forth. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that.
I was like, Dr. James Naismith right now is rolling over in his grave because this is not what he had envisioned.
Right.
Let's talk about LeBron. Let's talk about the Lakers and the Minnesota Timberwolves. When we last spoke, both on this show and off this show, that was one of the potential matchups, and we both said that this matchup for the Lakers was going to be a very bad one. Well, nobody knew how bad it was going to be.
Right.
Man, Luka Doncic disappeared in the playoffs. LeBron James showed his age in the playoffs. And yeah, it was not good. Not good.
That and JJ Redick showed maybe a guy who has a fun blog isn't the best choice for your head coach. Like, why are we still letting LeBron James make roster decisions, coaching decisions, draft decisions? I mean, and you talk about 2 superstars in quotes, who don't play any defense. In that series, LeBron seems to have lost any ability to play defense. Luka Doncic, the next time he plays defense, will be the first time. And so Minnesota you made Rudy Gobert look like Hakeem Olajuwon. I mean, every time they gave him the ball, he was just at the hole.
Well,
and the Lakers had no answer for that.
Well, we have a podcast too. So does that mean we could be NBA coaches?
Well, we could be GMs. I'll tell you that.
Well, listen, I'll do my best. I think you and I can do a better job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, the LeBron James situation, I was not happy at the beginning of the year with this whole Bronny situation. You know that, and I know that. That was not healthy for the league. That was not a good standard. And LeBron even said at one point, I think in that social media post that he put out, that he helped Bronny get into the NBA, and he knew it. When it comes to LeBron James, I think of the movie The Dark Knight, when Two-Face comes out and he says, you either die a hero or you live long enough to become the enemy. And I think LeBron has lived long enough in the NBA to become the enemy.
That's a great line. That's exactly what it is. Although I was never a fan to begin with, because he got a lot of credit for being in situations where he played with someone better than he was, and he would get the credit. But it was Kyrie Irving the first time. Then it was Dwayne Wade. There was always someone better than him on the team, but he would get the credit. And I was always like, come on.
but that's how. But the thing is, though, when he was in Cleveland the first time, he was beloved, but he wasn't ready.
Yeah.
His first run in Cleveland was the immaturity of not being 4 years in college.
Absolutely.
Okay. Then he went to the Miami Heat, and that was like his college. He spent 4 years there. He got to play with Dwayne Wade, played with Chris Bosh, and he was with Spoelstra. They learned how to win, and he learned how to win. And he was hated there. He went back to Cleveland, and those years he was in Cleveland, though losing in the NBA Finals for majority of those years, he became beloved again. And when he went back to the Lakers, or when he went to the Lakers, he became hated again.
Yeah.
And everything he did became scrutinized, because he became the enemy. He became the manipulator. He became the guy whose passion for basketball wasn't shown. It was manipulation that he had of a guy trying to hold on to stay on top. That's what it looked like for LeBron James.
Yep.
And it's a shame, because when you have that conversation of maybe the top 5 basketball players of all time, LeBron, with what he can do on the court and his skill set and what he brings to the table and his body of work, puts him in that conversation. But all of his maneuvering and all the conniving or behind the scenes takes him out of the conversation.
That's right. And I think everyone's talking about this, but JJ Redick's decision to play his starters for 24 minutes, I was like, so you had the whole point of the regular season, the whole point of the 82 games is to establish your rotation, find out who you can trust, who you can't trust, so that when the playoffs start, you got your rotation, you know who you're going to put in, who you're going to, in this situation, that you should have all those things figured out. And what JJ did was, totally throw everything he learned during the regular season out the window and go with the Tom Thibodeau approach and just leave the starters in the whole second half. And your main star is 70 years old, and he looked like he didn't even recover for the last game. He looked like he was still gassed from the game before. So, a lot of issues with the Lakers. They're not easily solved. You're seeing, as you know, as we've talked about here, I was totally on board with Dallas trading Luka Doncic because he doesn't play any defense. He's not a winner on both ends of the floor. So the problem was the deal they made was not a good deal because Anthony Davis doesn't play. But what you got, Lakers, was, here's a guy. Here's a guy who put up a lot of points, do a lot of complaining, and play no defense. You don't get very far in the playoffs like that.
A quick question about Dallas, real quick. Is Dallas now? They had their really long string of being relevant in the NBA. Did this move that they made, getting Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic, take them down on the river of irrelevancy instead of the island of relevancy at this point?
The river of irrelevancy.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the problem is you're not going to have Kyrie Irving until, assuming he stays, he can leave. If he stays, you're not going to have him until maybe January.
January, yeah, that's what they were projecting.
At best, at earliest. And then, so.
By the way, it was the river of obscurity.
Oh.
The river of obscurity and the island of relevancy.
There we go. That's what it was. Yeah. You were crossing your metaphors.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you've got Anthony Davis who will play, let's say let's say Kyrie Irving misses 45 games, just to pull a number out of the air.
Okay.
And Anthony Davis is going to miss at least, in a best case scenario, he's going to miss 10 of those games.
Okay.
It's equally likely that he could miss 25 of those games. So every game that Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis miss is a guaranteed loss for Dallas, unless they're playing, I don't know, Charlotte or Washington or maybe Philly. But they're going to lose the majority of those games. So now let's say you're 10 games out of the playoff picture when you finally get Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving healthy together. If you do, it's too late. It's January, February. You can't even make a run. So the way the Mavericks are constructed is a real head scratcher. And if Kyrie Irving leaves, you're just screwed. What do? You have no one. You're going to run Spencer Dinwiddie as your starting point guard?
Oh, no. Okay. You're done. You're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're done.
So I don't have a lot of hope for the Mavericks. I think the island of obscurity is
you're flowing down the river of obscurity, and you hope to land on the island of relevancy.
There you go. That's where they are.
Look, real quick, let's just do a quick recap before we wipe this out for this episode. Let's talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Miami Heat. This did not end in a shocking way. I think that when you and I discussed off air, you were thinking that Miami was going to get at least one win. They didn't even get that. Look,
nope.
This is a team that needs a reboot. This is a team Pat Riley should be seeing what he can get for his assets and hit the reset button with. You have to pick your pieces that you want to rebuild around. Is Tyler Hero the guy you want to build around? Is Bam Adebayo a guy you want to build around? Bam gives you some particular skills. And watching Bam play in person, he brings a lot to the table. He has an excellent skill set. But if you're not looking to do a quick rebuild around him and Tyler Hero and bring in other pieces, then you have to do justice by him for him being a good soldier and put him in a situation where he can go win elsewhere. That's just my opinion. I really like Bam. I think he's a good guy. He's one of the NBA good guys. He doesn't deserve the deal with the Jimmy.
It'll never happen. But if you could get Giannis Antetokounmpo in Miami with those two guys, okay, now it's interesting. But they need someone like that. Neither Hero nor Adebayo are your Batman, as we like to say. They don't have Batman. And what's it going to take to get Batman? Can you keep both of them and get Batman? And, it's tough. I think the main reason I thought Miami would get a game in that series was because, kind of like all season, I've been waiting for the Cleveland Cavaliers to be the Cleveland Cavaliers of the past, and they just have not been. Like this season, there was like one stretch of 4 or 5 games where they kind of struggled a little bit, but otherwise they've been pedal to the metal, just like the Oklahoma City Thunder all season. And until they get to the Celtics, can the Celtics even beat them? Certainly they won't sweep the Celtics, but can the Celtics win a series from them? I don't think. They don't have the front line. No way.
Yeah, and not only that, too, I look at Cleveland, and they're balanced. They have the bigs, and they have the shooting. The Celtics beat the Magic 3-2. 4-1. Sorry,
4-1.
4-1. Yep. And look, we had this conversation throughout the year about the Orlando Magic. What is wrong with that team? They have all talent, but they are the worst 3-point shooting team in the NBA. They proved. And when you go against the best 3-point shooting team in the NBA, let's just say it's not going to work out well. This was a sloppy series like we were discussing before. The game of basketball was set back a little bit during this series. But
that's for sure.
I think Orlando is a team that needs to get like a Trae Young or a John Morant in there they need to go with Paolo. They need it. They need Picaro is a good player. He's not a number one. He's not a number one. He's not going to be a number one, but he is a solid player. He's a great player to watch. He's fun. I'm looking forward to see how he expands his game. He's still young, but very, very interested to see where that goes. And Boston's on cruise control, and they're going to have the Knicks or the Knicks or the Pistons. Hopefully, I have an answer for that after tonight. But the Knicks and the Knicks or the Pistons, and I don't think they're going to have much of a problem with either one of those teams. I think for Detroit's sake, I would love to see Detroit beat the Knicks in this series. Just not because I hate the Knicks, but just also because I really like to see young teams figure it out. Last year we saw it with the Indiana Pacers. This year, I'd like to see it with the Detroit Pistons. I really would love to see.
Me too.
Speaking of the Indiana Pacers, they defeated the Bucks 3-1, and I got to tell you, Doc Rivers is the worst coach for that team. And I'm not trying to be. You and I had said this before, and I like Doc. My conversations with Doc over the year, I sat there with Doc at Madison Square Garden. And I learned more basketball in 20 minutes talking to Doc Rivers than I learned, through my years of coaching. And I got to tell you, when that hire was made, there couldn't have been a more worse hire for a team. We discussed it before. They need to put a bomb in Milwaukee in that locker room, blow it up, and restart. And that means trading Giannis. That has to happen. Everything.
Yep.
If they don't make significant moves, they're going to be in the bottom half of the Eastern Conference next season. And then Giannis is really going to want to leave.
Mm-hmm. It'll get ugly. It'll get ugly. And by the trade deadline, it'll be nasty dirt. It'll just be the worst situation ever. And they'll be forced to make a move. Go ahead and make the move this summer when it's not ugly yet. And you can still get value because you're not over a barrel. Teams that allow their star player to get to the point where they want to make a demand at the trade deadline. You're not getting value because other teams know. You don't have a choice.
Yeah, and now the thing that hurts them is he's 30.
Yeah,
you're not giving up multiple first round picks and picks of value for a 30-year-old.
Yeah,
it's just not happening. So that's the other part of it. Let's keep going through the playoff matchups as we were just discussing the Knicks and the Pistons. Look, the Knicks have a lot of flaws on this team. A lot of flaws. They're not deep. They're not a deep team with their rotation. They don't have a lot of height. And the other part of it too is their coach is an idiot. And I like Tibbs also. I thought Tibbs did a nice job in Chicago. I thought he did a nice job in Minnesota for the short time he was there.
He was my guy in Houston when Jeff Van Gundy, when Jeff Van Gundy's a head coach, he has no ability to communicate. So you need to know the assistant real well. So I got to know Thibodeau real well because I could go talk to him and he would answer questions.
And now Jeff Van
Gundy's like, yes.
Do you find it amazing, by the way, that Jeff Van Gundy is an assistant coach for the Clippers and nobody knew about it?
Right. The crazy thing is, then you run into Jeff somewhere outside, like at All-Star or at the draft, and he's like, Bill, what's up? How's it going, buddy? And I'm like,
yeah, and you're like, wait, you're like, huh? Yeah.
Is there a third Van Gundy brother? Jeff has a twin, doesn't he?
There's Stan Van Gundy, Jeff Van Gundy, and Bill Van Gundy, and he's like the forgotten brother. And he's probably the smartest of the three.
Right.
The Pacers, you have to give the Pacers credit. At the beginning of the season, you and I were sitting there saying on how this team was underperforming. Look, this Pacers team has all the talent. They have the pieces. They can make a run. They can quietly, they're gonna have a tough series with the Cavaliers. That made it, but that matchup will be intriguing. I think that's a 6-game series. I think that's Cleveland 4-2, but I think the Pacers can certainly make it.
It could be.
Yeah.
Vic Carlisle is one of the great. I always said after he was in Dallas and I got to know him pretty well. I thought he was the second best coach in the league behind, of course, Popovich. Because he had an ability to transform players into what he needed for his system. And the classic example of this is when the Mavericks got Sean Marion. and he told Matrix that he was going to be a post player. And Matrix told me this story, and he was like, "No, I'm running gun," and Rick was like, "You were a running gun player, but if you want to continue to play basketball, you're older now, and you are now going to play in the post." And Sean Marion became a very effective post player. It was always ugly. He had this little flip, in the paint that you're always like, and then it would go in. But Rick Carlisle will take a player, recognize a skill set that maybe the player doesn't even recognize, and then teach it and instill it and get so much out of his players in that way. And the only other coach I've seen do that is Greg Popovich. Jerry Sloan a little bit, but not as much. So I really think very highly of Rick Carlisle. And when you see when Halliburton finally got healthy, he really wasn't healthy for a while. And you're getting a lot out of Miles Turner this year, which he was definitely on the block last summer. And Siakam has his moments. He's not been the star we thought he might be there, but he does have star moments. There's so many tools, and Matherin off the bench, and sometimes he starts. You've got so many tools there and so many guys who can step up, and they've been doing it as a team. And hey, that's great. I love when a team can take turns, different guys stepping up. It makes them harder to stop. Probably not for Cleveland, but for anybody else.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Just to round off, like we discussed the Memphis OKC series before, it was dominant. We discussed the Warriors and the Rockets. We discussed the Lakers and the Wolves. Let's give Denver and the Clippers their shine. Look, the Clippers are looking like the team that they really should have been the last few years with the amount of talent that they have. Denver is showing their lack of depth on the court.
Yep.
And the two games they haven't had, or the game they haven't had Russell Westbrook, they got destroyed. Look, I think the Nuggets sneak out this series, but they're not going to play well against.
No, they're toast in the second round. Yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, you fire Michael Malone. I get that he was calling out, he'd gotten tired of like European players being European players in a certain way. But you fire Michael Malone again, like the Grizzlies did. You fire him right before the playoffs. So now you're trying to figure out, are you going to change? You're going to change things. Otherwise, why fire your head coach? So you're trying to learn new roles, new schemes. Obviously, it's going to be fairly simple because you don't have time to teach a whole lot. And that's a tall task to ask before you start the playoffs. Fine, you get the Clippers. Is Kawhi Leonard's head going to be in the game? James Harden doesn't play any defense ever, kind of like Luka. The first time he plays defense will be the first time. And so you've got a matchup here that Denver can exploit. But their bench, gone. The front office hasn't done their job in keeping that championship core together. And then you blame the head coach. All right, the head coach got frustrated. And I'm sure Jokic is frustrated too. So, yeah, I agree. You get past the Clippers, but then you're DOA second round.
No, I agree. Let's just quickly go over some different other headlines across the NBA. Cooper Flagg officially declaring for the NBA draft. It's very interesting. We'll know May 12th where pretty much where he's going to end up, because that's going to be the draft lottery.
Number one pick. Yep.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's Brooklyn. I'm really hoping it's Brooklyn.
And the Rockets have Phoenix's pick, so I'm hoping.
Yeah,
they have a 1 in 400 chance.
You and I are having that conversation about what the Rockets can do to get a number one guy. Can you imagine them winning the lottery and getting Cooper Flagg, and it doesn't hurt their salary cap whatsoever? Oh my God, the rich gets rich. Really, Bill, how selfish are you? How selfish are you?
I'm very selfish.
Yeah. We're like, seriously, how does that work? But with that being said, like, I really do think it'd be really cool. Hey, if Brooklyn got it, but a team like Utah can really benefit from that. I think Sean Marks at his postseason press conference at the day after the season ended, made a comment. He says Brooklyn deserves to have a homegrown star, which said to me he's not making any trades. They have 4 first-round draft picks. They have their pick in the top 10. They have the Bucks pick. They have the Knicks pick, and they also have the Phoenix Suns pick. No, they have the Rockets pick this year.
Rockets pick, yeah.
Yeah. So they have 4 picks. You're still going to get talent in the draft, but you just may not have a game-changing talent. And I'm still not sure that Cooper Flag is a game-changing talent.
It's a tall order to expect that.
Yeah, like you don't want to be the team that puts all your eggs in one basket on a 19-year-old.
Yep.
I want you to think about that. You don't want to look. Luka came in the league at 19 also, and we want to use a better example. I'm sorry. LeBron came in the league at 18, and it took him how many years before he went to Miami to really understand what winning was. So if you're drafting a kid who's 18, 19 years old, he's playing in the league 10 years at a high level for him to fully understand what it's like to win a championship. When Jordan came in the league at 20 or 21, he didn't win his first championship until he was 28.
Yep. Akeem was the same way. Akeem needed a long time. He got to the finals right away, but they didn't win one for another almost 10 years.
Yeah, there's a lot to this. So I wish, man, we could open up a whole other can of worms, start talking about raising the age limit and going through college basketball.
Don't make Nancy Lieberman come back on the show.
Nancy, I love you. It just doesn't make sense, and we will make sense. But guys, follow the Hardwood Huddle, backsportspage.com. Bill has started doing the one-man huddle show, which is pretty cool. I'm going to start doing the same thing, and we'll reconvene here we'll try to start reconvening on a weekly basis, but getting our takes of what's going on through the playoffs and as well as other news breaking. I like the idea. You're revolutionizing the game yet again, my friend. You did it once before, and you're doing it again, and I love it. So Bill, want to give some plugs before we bail out of here?
Sure, you can always find me at The Rocket Guy. I do check Twitter X once a week or so. I'm mostly on Blue Sky. If you hit me up there, you'll get me. There's a growing NBA audience. The NBA is now on Blue Sky, and my sports blog is not another basketball article or not another sports article. NASA, get it, Houston? Not another sports article on Substack. And of course, I'll be posting videos with the Hardwood Huddle.
Why do I love
mini
that so
huddles.
much, by the way? I don't know why I love it so. I don't know why I love the NASA thing so much. I know that's great.
Oh. Well, and I even had AI. Tracy Graven showed me how to use AI to make a logo that's like the NASA logo, but with the rocket. Like it's.
and by the way, I am on Blue Sky. It says it right there. I'm there. Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you got to follow me, and I'll follow you back.
Yeah. All right, we'll start doing that too. For Bill Ingram, I'm Randy Zellea, backsportspage.com, the Hardwood Huddle. We will see you next week to discuss round 2 of the NBA playoffs. See you then.
Sounds good.